Hello everyone, this is Rob. I finished Planet Smashers today, so I thought I'd just record a quick post-mortem about how the game ended up, and Rowan will do most of the video for it because she's wonderful and does most of that work. So yeah, the idea behind Planet Smashers, originally I think it was going to practice it being like a bullet hell, but it ended up being like more of a physics game. So where we ended up is, you're an asteroid, and your goal is to smash planets, but you can only smash planets smaller than you. But when you smash planets, you can get some power-ups that increase your smashing power. Originally, I had looked into the math of the speed and size of asteroids that would actually take to destroy an Earth-sized planet, and also looked up what the mass of Earth is, and was going to do a game kind of based on that math. And then as I did that math, because once you get to those scales, it's gratuitous. Instead, I simplified it down to a much more what I thought was a reasonable range. And as I developed the game and the final implementation of the rules, found out that even the simplified version of those masses and speeds are insanity to represent with sprites on a computer screen. So went with an even more simplified version where your smashing power starts at 5 and can go up to 100 before you win the game. The planets are labeled with their mass, and they go from essentially 1 to 100. Actually, they go from 0 to 100, so they can be less than 1. So most of the early part of the game, you're searching around for planets that are small enough for you to smash, because they're only spawning 1 out of 20 times. And you also have a thing where if you are more than 3 times smaller than the planet you collide with, it will smash you instead, and you will lose the game. And you have to start over. So you can't just go full speed to the right and just wait to hit things that are the right size and bounce off the larger objects. The larger objects will destroy you. So you do have to be cautious about where you're moving early on in the game. Once you get above 40, there's nothing there that will smash you back. So at that point, the power creep really comes in. The power-ups increase your smashing power. They'll also they'll increase the size of the asteroid or the size of the asteroid's tail. So yeah, I think that's basically it for how the game ended up. We did have to make sure that the planets were spawning off-screen, because you don't want a planet to spawn on top of you and ruin your game just because you got a bad spawn on a planet that happened to intersect you, because the planets can get quite large on the screen. I'm very happy with how it turned out with the asteroid, and actually how you might not notice the incremental increases as you're picking up power-ups, but at the end of the game there is a definite difference from where you started out and where you end up, so I really like that. I also really like the rotating effect I got on the planets, and that there were a couple of things I implemented that just kind of even with the game this simple, memory probably isn't a thing, but just to make sure since you're moving around an open field essentially, if you get too far away from either a pickup or a planet, it will despawn, it will free itself from memory, and there's always X amount of planets somewhere within range, but you don't necessarily know what direction they are. I wrote all the music. The sound effects were made in the same program I made the music. I just happened to count on a few tones while composing that I thought really fit. There's of course, it's finished, but there are a couple of tweaks I want to do just to have it be a little bit smoother. I do feel like I got a lot more comfortable with the integration of the GD script part of Godot and the user interface side of Godot. There was a lot more of that in here than the original game. There was a lot more back-end math and physics going on, especially when I was developing it with what was closer to the real-world math. And I had to extrapolate it, and at some points I just had to have the print command just show me what the numbers were and then move that to a different document so I could put in the commas and figure out, am I talking about trillions or quintillions, or of course it got crazy. There's a reason I simplified it down to 1 to 100. The planets still scale the same though. It did make it easier to handle the asteroid's destruction ability versus the planet's mass to change how that was, because originally the pickups were going to affect the exponent representation of your mass, or the first number of your mass. But of course, increasing by exponent, you get into crazy numbers real quick. Again, not what we ended up with. We ended up with a very simple, you start smashing power 5, and the power-ups increment you slightly up that scale. And once you hit 100 or more, you won the game. At that point, you've got enough mass to you. You're becoming a planet yourself, and it kind of becomes this poetic cycle of something going around and just collecting mass from other spatial bodies until it becomes the thing that it was destroying. Even though asteroids don't have intent like that, I just thought it was a way to frame the journey at the end, to be like, hey, those things that you were callously disregarding and damaging to gain your destructive power, now you've got enough gravity. You're one of those now. I don't know, I thought that put a nice bow on things. So yeah, if you have any questions about the game development process, this is the second game in my mini games project. Next is going to be visual novels, which will integrate more into 2 games that I'm discussing with other people about developing. Nothing announcing yet, but we're going to have to prototype and see what's going on. But there are visual novel elements to both of those games. Looking forward to that. I think this game took me a little less than 2 weeks. There were certainly nights I did not work on it, and it's nothing. I'm sure an experienced programmer could have ripped this out in a 6-hour game jam. I am, of course, in the process of learning, so I am taking a little bit longer, but I'm also aware that a lot of people who are like at this level of learning would probably take a little bit longer with their first 2 games, because I think all in all, I'm about 5 weeks in, and I have 2 finished micro games, so I'm very proud of that. So we'll be back next episode to talk about the visual novel and how that goes. I think that'll be fun to talk about, and rock on. See you next time.